welcome to another conversation in our FM Expert series. Today I'm joined by Andy Kelly. Andy's the Director of Facilities and Infrastructure at Manchester Convention Centre, or Manchester Central Convention Centre, I should say. Sorry, Andy. Good to have you here.
Hi, Beth. Hi.
Thanks, Andy. Andy is also a lead judge with the IWFM Awards and also the convener, I think I'm right in saying, of the Global FM. Tell me how you say it, Andy. How do we say it?
Global FM Excellence Awards.
There we go. I knew I wouldn't be able to say it. And Andy, he also just reminded me in our conversation that I had forgotten. Andy was the FM of the Year in 2007. Feels like a while ago now, but nonetheless, that's prestigious. It is really prestigious.
No, I was very honoured back in the day, and it seems a long, long time ago. It is a long, long time ago, and the awards have moved on very much so from those days. But yeah, very, very honoured to be awarded that.
Yeah, but also you've got a services background. You've been in FM for 25 years. You've got a huge amount of experience, and your subject that you're going to share with us is around mentorship and how that can work in FM. So I'm really interested in this one, and we've already been having a chat about it. But let me hand over to you, because very much it's about sharing the value of FM mentorship and what people can get from it. So Andy, over to you.
Yeah, and I just for me, I've had a mentor in my career, and I thought the value that I got out of being mentored was invaluable, especially when you're very junior and young in FM. And you know, I'd gone from client side to in-house, and it was how I handle that transition. And I was given a mentor, and I was able to bounce off that mentor, and so I really felt true value. And over the years, I've mentored a number of, not just my team, I'd say, and I've seen them grow in their roles and their careers, and that gives me, you know, it really makes my sort of heart enthused watching people who've been part of my team, have been mentored, and just watch their journey grow in FM, because I think we all strive to bring, you know, young talent through, or just any talent really. The industry, that's what we want. We want the next generation of FMs, and I just think there's so much if you're a mentor but also a mentee that you can get from that relationship.
Yeah. And if you think of your role as a mentor, what we'll talk about how you get it right, but just interestingly, what are some of the things that you've learned, because you're hugely experienced, but nonetheless, like you say, you can learn from your mentee. So what are some of the things you've learned over the years?
Absolutely. And I don't think there's you know, one face that fits all, really. I think every different relationship that you get into with your mentees is different. But I think nowadays the generations, the different generations, the different things that they look for in work, and I think you're able to gain that insight into how they think, what they want from a work-life balance, what drives them in terms of their career development. It's the workplace has changed in the last 25 years enormously, and that's not just because of the work and the built environment, but the people that are in it and the generation differences. You know, it's just, and I think you as a mentor, you get a great insight into the young minds coming through and what they want and how they feel they can achieve it, which is sometimes it's not the right direction. And that's where you as a mentor come in and you say, actually, have you thought about doing it this way or that way? Because, you know, they're in the digital age, and they think sometimes communication is just great. Let's just open the laptop, let's do it over Teams. And sometimes you need to try and do those face-to-face meetings, etc. Whether that's not just as mentors and mentees, but actually with, you know, line managers. And I think that's some of the issues and challenges. But the art of conversation and communication is another means to get to the end.
Well, and people refer to that as a soft skill, and you think, come on, it's an essential skill, isn't it? You know,
absolutely. Yeah, it's a given. And I think, again, as a mentor, I think we're used, when we go on in our careers, we're used to talking at high level, and taking it back down to, you know, grassroots and learning to speak with people at the work phase, not just the work phase, but, you know, up and coming people. It brings you back down to a level, you know, being able to communicate at all levels. You know, it is a skill. It is a skill, and we don't get taught it. I think you learn it through life and through your careers, and just listening to people how they communicating and taking those little tips back, you know, is I know I can be over passionate. That's what people tell me from feedback sometimes.
I don't think there's ever a problem with being over passionate. Wouldn't you always rather that in somebody? Blimey.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know,
it's just channeling it sometimes in the right manner, and that's what I try to say to people. It's sometimes you just need to step back, just reflect.
Yeah.
Write that nasty email you want to send, but then don't send it.
Send it,
and then just delete it and things like that. It's how you cope with the pressures of work. But not also, I think it's important to talk to your mentees or mentors about your work-life balance. And you know, we often talk. You know, one of my mentees has just announced that she got engaged over Christmas, which, you know, so we started talking about, you know, how she's going to organise that as well as a work-life balance. And as usual, well, I've got a great spreadsheet. It's just, you know, so, you know,
she's going to go far in FM.
Absolutely.
So I've got lots of questions. Fundamentally, you know, you're not a coach. This isn't a coaching thing, is it? Absolutely. So if somebody's kind of thinking about either getting a mentor or being a mentor, how would you explain to them what is required, what it is, and how it differs from something like a coach? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think the important thing is you've got to get on. You've both got to get on, and there's got to be an output. There's got to be generally an output, a purpose, what both want to get out, and that's an open discussion. That's an open discussion at the outset where you ask, you know, what do you want from me, and what can I give you, and vice versa. And for me, there's no hard and fast rules. You know, you can have a mentee for a month, whenever you feel the relationship is, you know, it's stagnant or there's nothing more to be gained. Don't just keep going on and on and on, you know. But although, you know, it can go on and on because you both feel some value in it. I think when the relationship, there's no more value, just end it, but stay in contact. That's and I think there's, whilst it's great to have regular meetings set up, again, we all know the challenges of work. You know, I'm often saying to my guys, you know, or vice versa, my mentees, or they say to me, can we put it off, or can we just do 20 minutes, half an hour? Absolutely, because that's what it's about.
So how often, ideally, and I appreciate everyone is different, but in your experience, because that's what we're talking about, what frequency would you aim to meet, whether it actually happens?
Once a month. We've got diarised meetings once a month for an hour. Do they always go for it? Do they always go for an hour? No, they don't. And we always say to ourselves, you know, I always try to say, okay, let's focus on that. Go away and ask some questions. You know, people having challenging discussions with line managers, ask the questions, test, and then let's chat about that next time, things like that. I think as a mentor, it shouldn't all be about the mentor talking. You need to listen to the mentee because they've got the challenges, you'd like to think, and then you can interject with, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? What about this? Or ask the question. So and again, I think the important thing for me is, and I always say, you've got to have that art of listening, haven't you? And I also say that to the mentees, you know, you're relatively young, you should be listening to colleagues and trying to just take that information in. Just there's lots and lots of knowledge out there, not always right, some of that knowledge, and that's where you can challenge it, but ask those questions at the right time. I hate it sometimes when you're in meeting, nobody asks a question, and then next thing you know, you get that email. Can you just tell me? Well, let's just ask that question, no matter how silly it is. So, you know, especially in the young in your career.
There are mentor, there's a you know, I think IWFM have got a mentor program, haven't they? And there's been a one run by Liz Kentish and a colleague as well. So there's been some formal programs out there. Is this something more that you've just done with your teams and you've set it up as a support to your teams, or?
Yeah, and when I worked in the outsource world, that's again, they have programs within their businesses, etc., etc. So you're working across functions, not just in your own division. So yes, I've been part of that. But I've been both those schemes, Liz's and the IWFM. I've been part of both those. Yes, and I'm active of the IWFM one. And it's again, it's finding the right person where they can look at your credentials and vice versa, and they select you because they believe you're the right person for them to give them the knowledge and experience, which again, you look at that, you think, right, great, they've obviously seen something in my career where they think they can get something, and then you tease it out, well, what do you want from me?
So it's not just about you and the mentee listening. It's also, from a mentor's point of view, it's also about the quality of the questions you're asking. But you can't ask the good questions if you've not been listening in the first place.
Absolutely, and a couple of my mentees recently have asked questions about FM, directly about FM. Well, and they're doing their academic studies, etc. And they said, I'm a bit stuck on this. I'm not quite sure what it means. So for me, that's where you're really able to elaborate on your experience. And, I gave this particular mentee, some experience of risk management, what I've had, and examples, because they didn't know how to apply it. And I said, no, you need to think about that. And then you can see it click. He said, wow, I didn't think about it like that, because they didn't fully understand the question.
And how could they? Because that comes with nearly 30 years of experience, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think that when you see it and you explain it to them, and you see their, right, okay, yeah, great. And can I do this piece then? Can I send it to you, and can you read it and you give me some feedback? Because ultimately that's what you're doing, whether it be them passing your CV because they think it's the time to move on because they've not been recognised. Yeah, okay. We can all do that. But I also say to them, there's no perfect CV out there. There's plenty of recruiters out there who'll tell you the perfect CV and the way it should be written. But I can give you my knowledge and experience, what I think should be on it when I'm looking at people's CVs.
Looking. Yeah, exactly. Let me just sense check this with you. Are you ever too experienced to have a mentor?
No, I don't think so. Because in FM, every day is a learning day, isn't it? And I think the same applies to age. You don't have to be young, just to have a mentee or be a mentor. You just don't. We live in the world of equality, don't we? And we should strive to that. And it's just about forming that relationship where people can have that art of conversation and ask people and not challenge people, but I suppose it is a bit of challenging, isn't it? When you're challenging your mentee, well, is that the right way? How about could you do it that way? And
I think what's interesting is also setting the ground rules, isn't it? Because everyone's different. Some people respond well to being challenged and like that. Some people that they shut down and they want much more of a supportive conversation. And do you know what I mean? So I guess one of the really important things, I don't know how, I think that's probably quite a difficult thing to cover perhaps at the beginning of a conversation, is that how do you want this conversation to go? What do you want our interaction to be like? Because what you absolutely don't want to do is break somebody's confidence, do you?
No, and I think that again, that's the point for me. You're trying to build that confidence, and I think a lot of junior FMs or people joining the industry are very, whilst they've got because they've been to university, very academic. Back in the day, it was you didn't go to university. I definitely didn't go to university, and sometimes they come out of university and they think, right, I've done 4 or 5 years of education. I want X and I expect to be paid X. And well, it doesn't really start like this, because you've got to go through that. And you can actually see them going, oh, right. I wasn't expecting that, and it's how you then say, well, if you do that and demonstrate you can do that, I'm sure people will see the value and what you know you can bring to the business. But you know, the expectancy, I suppose, of today's generation, because of where they are and what they've been through, is totally different from 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. And have you got a mentor?
I haven't at the moment. No, I haven't. But I have up until 3 years ago. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
I have. I have got a mentor, and that's why I was asking, because in terms of me finding a mentor, I wanted somebody who had experience over and above. I mean, I've got 27 years in FM. I wanted somebody who had more and who'd done some of the things I hadn't yet done, and have found a mentor. And I set the ground rules at the beginning with the mentor to say, I don't want you to take any excuses from me. I want you to challenge me. I want you to push me, and I want you to call me out. So I wanted quite a robust mentor. And not everyone would want that, you see, which is why it's I think that setting of the ground rules so both parties feel comfortable, because it could be it's quite a vulnerable space, isn't it, if you're being really open and honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think.
And did you find that hard? Did you find that hard to find someone with that experience who was willing to challenge you and push you?
Yeah, there's not that many people out there who would be right for that, but I was lucky to find somebody, and it's been actually I've gained a huge amount from it. It's been really useful for me. And how long it will carry on, I don't know, because like you say, you know, things reach their natural you know, their sort of natural ending, but so far it's been brilliant. Yeah. So but I will be honest here and say I don't have any mentees. I mean, I do have unofficial ones, of course, we all do, but I'm not doing it officially. And what you're making me think now is I need to do that. I think however busy we are, all of this is about giving back, but it's pulling up. And I think we all are able to do that, and we've got a huge amount to give, haven't we?
100%. And I think, you know, our industry, we're always talking, and everyone's saying people are our biggest asset, but you know, how do we nurture that young talent and bring that young talent through? And you know, the next generation of FMs, you know, that's what we want. And you know, we don't want people going out of the industry taking all this knowledge and experience when they could have shared it. And that's one of the things that I pleasure. I love seeing people, whether it's been in my team or people have, you know, I've got a guy who's working in Saudi now, who's an engineering manager. I've got an ex-cleaner who's a fully qualified electrician. I've got a lady who was working in fleet management. She's now an account director, etc. And you see these people, and you know that's what we want. We want these people to drive our profession forward, and you know, and hopefully, you know, I can see it now. I've got a young chap who's joined my team, as we were talking about. I know he's going to go far, and the two mentees, they're both on the academic trail, and I think they're looking for that experience, that balance where, okay, I'm doing my IWFM studies, but I also want to understand from an experience, because they're both working and they both have challenges. So they're asking the questions. I've got this challenge and I've been doing this time. What do I need to do to sort of show people how to, you know, etc. etc. So it's getting the balance right, isn't it? Getting the balance right. So
I think you must be an incredible mentor, because the thing you said about, you know, I've got too much passion, genuinely, Andy, that's what you want to install in people, and you've got it in spades. And I think they're really, really lucky to have you. Long may it continue, is all I say.
As long as I'm still working, which could be a long time, as we discussed.
We did discuss. Yeah. Listen, on that note, I'm going to say thank you. We haven't done a session on mentoring or being a mentee, and I think it's a really important one. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
No problems. Thanks, Beth.
Cheers, Andy. Okay.